I've said it before and I will say it again. There is not one way to mix your song. However, sometimes watching someone else's process of mixing can give you some tips and some ideas that can help your mixing process. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I mix a punk rock song here in GarageBand on my iPhone. Let's go. Hi, my name is Pete, and this is Studio Live Today, where I help you create, record, and release your best music. And I'm in the process of mixing, so I've done my recording for this new punk song. You might have seen that video. If you haven't, it'll be linked up down there and up there. And what I'm doing today is I'm actually mixing the song. So I've got a bit of a static mix together because I do that as I record, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a moment. But now what I want to do is actually mix, get my volume levels right, get my effects right, and get a final mix done so that I can master this song and then get it released, because that is always our end goal here with our recording process. So let's now jump down into GarageBand and take a look. Okay, when I last left you, our track looked a little bit like this. We had just recorded a bunch of guitar sounds, and we had our drummer track down here, and then I was working through to work out what this song would actually sound like and look like in the end. So I have done that. I've taken away, I've workshopped it, I've written the lyrics, I've written all the chord progressions. Now, I haven't documented all of that or done a video on that because I've done that in some previous songwriting videos, which I'll link up there and down there if you want to learn a little bit more about my process of songwriting and arranging. But what I ended up with, if we'll remute all of these, because these are all of our old sounds, we're going to delete those in a moment. What we ended up with is this. So I've re-recorded. I've got my power chord here, which is the tone. I kept that tone for my rhythm guitar that goes throughout, which is playing mostly power chords. I then have my bass guitar here, the Tasty Crunch. Haven't named these very well yet. I've then got a lead guitar here. This one was just a copy I did for another video. Let's just delete that for now. Lead guitar there, a second lead guitar track with nothing in it, apparently. And then I've got my vocals. So I've recorded my vocals across two different tracks for a reason that I'll tell you about in just a moment. I then have some backing vocals, so just one little harmony vocal that comes in there. And then I've got something a little bit interesting and special, which I won't show you in this video, but that will be in an upcoming video, which I'm going to add in right towards the end. But for now, we're going to go ahead and we're going to mix this song. So how do I approach mixing? Well, as I mentioned in the intro, I do a lot of my mixing on the way in, which means that a lot of these tracks already have some effects, some plugins, some EQ on them. And because they're all virtual instrument tracks, I wanted to get the tones sounding right on the way in. So let's explain what I mean by that. So the tone for these ones, if I go to this track, I tap on the little amp icon in the top left corner up here, that will bring me into my amp settings here. So what I've already done is made some adjustments to the default tone here and made sure that everything that on the guitar amp itself was sounding right. The stomp boxes over here, we've got a compressor and we've got the H drive treble boost that are playing on there, and they're part of that original power chord tone. So I've left a lot of that pretty similar. I've then come into the plugins and EQ on this one by tapping on this little icon here, going into plugins and EQ, and I've come in and added a little bit of compression. In fact, I haven't added much because I don't think I've dialed that threshold down very much. There's some track reverb on here, just a little bit there, and I've done some EQ. So funnily enough, even after adding, treble boost and changing up all of the sound of the guitar, I've ended up boosting the bass and ducking the treble down there. So let's just take a quick listen. We will do this in more detail across the rest of the tracks, but let's listen to the tone that we currently have on this power chord. If we come to the start of the track. So that is our power chord tone. Now I'm already hearing that that's probably, and we'll do a little bit of this as we go along, probably gone a little bit harsh on the bass. So I'm just going to drop that down a bit, and because your cuts and your increases that you do in your EQ need to be subtle. You don't want to be pushing things over the top. And I think I was listening on earbuds, and that's why there wasn't much bass. So I added that in there. Let's play this again. Yeah, that's better. Now, I've said this before, but don't spend too much time in solo. Make sure that you're mixing in the mix. So let's do that now. We'll bring it back into the mix and hit play. I find it hard. And there's where my vocals kick in. So the actual balance of this song so far, which I probably should have showed you before, let's just hit play again and I'll just give you a listen to how things are sounding and looking here at the moment as far as the overall balance goes.
Hard to be okay with all the things that are happening in this world, and I find it harder day by.
So this is going to be a pretty simple song to mix because there's not a whole lot of tracks here, and I wanted to reinforce that my method is to keep it simple. You can actually go nuts with this stuff. I use the 80-20 rule all the time, and what that basically means is when you get 80% of your results from 20% of the work that you do, and then if you spend another 80% of the time, you're only going to get 20% benefit. So that was a confusing way to say, once you've done 80% of the work, that last bit, trying to get yourself that last bit over the line is kind of a diminishing returns thing, yeah? So you keep making change and you can keep spending time, but again, most of the stuff you get done. The first 20% of stuff that you do is going to be 80% of your benefit, so keep that in mind. Don't spend that additional time if you don't have to. So that is all cool. Now, the drum track here, I've customized my drummer track to make it go all the way through. One thing you may notice in this track is I'm not using sections, and I usually use sections. This was just because I kind of wrote this on the fly. What I could do is go and add in my sections now if I really wanted to. I'm probably not going to with this track. I'm probably just going to keep it free and easy and just do our thing. But I've linked a video if you are interested in how you can add sections after the fact. I've got a video on that and I'll show you that if you want to find out how. But what we have here is that we have the only one thing that we have that's different on our guitar is this little section here. And this is where I wanted to do a pick scrape. So I originally had a section where, actually, I'll play you the original section. I originally just sort of did a chunk here, which, again, if we use this, now I've got a video that I've done on non-destructive editing, which can show you how to do this, but there you can see what it originally was. So let's just play this part back. And that was okay. In the mix, it sounded like this.
Oh, don't have it easy.
Actually, I'm now thinking that with this actually sounds good, because what I actually did is I added in this pick scrape, which is just like this. And I've also realized that needs to kind of extend a little bit past there, like that. But I might leave both of those in now. There you go. Sometimes an accidental thing, when you're just showing something like this, can actually work. I kind of don't mind both of those together. It adds a little bit of extra tone to it. Let's have a listen again.
Have it easier than me.
Pretty good. It's probably just a little bit loud. Let's just drop the volume down over here on the left and take a listen again.
Don't have it easier than me. They don't have to.
Yeah, I like it. So that's sort of my guitar tone there. Now you'll see that I've got another guitar here, and this is, this is my bass. Let's go to the lead guitar first. So the lead guitar is only in particular sections, and what I've gone for with the lead guitar is a delayed but distorted sound. So let's take a listen to what the tone is at the moment. And we'll hit play. Should have done it a bit further on. So there's our tone. We've got that by using this as our basses. So here is our, I can't call it a Marshall, our Marshall-like amp that we have here. I've dialed in some of the settings there. And again, I won't go into detail, but maybe I'll do another video about how to dial in your virtual amp settings to make your guitars sound the way you want them to. But that's, yeah, a bit too much detail for this one. We've got our stomp boxes on over here. I've got the vintage drive and I've added in the blue echoes. So if I take those off, let's just take a listen. So I like that. I like the echo and I like the drive. In fact, it's probably a little bit too heavy on the drive now that I'm listening back. Let's just do a little bit of tweaking on the fly here. Yeah, probably have my level just a little bit loud on that. Let's try it again. Now, the attack may be a little bit intense. I'll play around with that when we get sort of to the final mixing phase, or let me know what you think. Should I be changing up this guitar tone completely? You probably need to hear it in the mix again to get a feel for that now that I've made those few changes. So let's just take another listen to this starting section with my lead guitar.
3, let's go!
So maybe it has a little bit too much attack, and maybe we need to play around with that tone. But anyway, that's what we have for the moment. Let me know what you think. Let's come over to our bass. Now, the bass sound, I wanted to, as you would have seen if you've watched the previous video, I wanted the bass to be a little bit distorted, a little bit crunchy. So I've used the Tasty Crunch, but I've also dialed it down a little bit so it's not quite as mid-rangey and heavy, because we got a lot of those distorted guitars in there and we didn't want it to be overpowering. So let's play back the bass. Bring it back into the mix.
I find it hard to be okay.
I think it's sounding pretty good. Now, again, what we did with the tone here is we used the basses of here, and all I did is I dropped down the mids actually, and I increased the bass a little bit. And I think, does this one have... no, it doesn't have any of the pedals on there. So it's just using the power of the amp to actually drive the signal a little bit more, which is what's giving that little slightly overdriven tone that we have on there. So I'm pretty happy with my guitar mix as it is at the moment. Let's just have a listen to an instrumental of our guitars by soloing all of these suckers. We'll come further down here to where we're doing something different, and we'll play back. Yeah, so I think we've got a nice balance there. And again, you can see here that the drums are a lot heavier on this track than I normally would have on a track, because I normally play folksy singer-songwriter stuff, but I wanted the drums to really kick through. I'm not using any plugin. I usually use the FAC maximizer on drums, and I may do that towards the end of the final mix, but for now, I'm keeping it just using the stock stuff here in GarageBand as it is. Let's come down to vocals, because I know folks are very interested in the vocal sounds that we're getting here. So what I've done is I used the Punchy Presence to record these vocals, and then I've actually continued using Punchy Presence afterwards and just tweaked the sound a little bit. So let's see what some of the changes are that I've made. We'll come in here, and you can see I've got some pretty intense compression on here, and I've got a little bit of the ambience there to add some reverb. But then over here in plugins and EQ, I've actually added in, as well as the default effects that we have with this one, I've added in some overdrive. So this just gives that sort of gravelly texture to my voice, and I'll show you the difference. If we come back to our vocal, I shouldn't have soloed all these. Let's unsolo so that I can solo this vocal a little bit easier. All right, there we go. We've got these two lead vocal tracks, which I'll solo both of those. So let's come in and take a listen to our vocal track at the start here.
Hard to be okay with all the things that I have.
And let's turn off the overdrive and take a listen.
Happening in this world.
And then turn it back on.
And I find it harder day by day.
So it just adds that slight sort of, bullhorn megaphone kind of sound that you get when you've got a little bit of distortion, a few little artifacts kicking in there. So you want to keep it subtle if you're using overdrive on your vocals, but it can be a cool thing. And you can even use like guitar pedals. You can push it through a guitar amp. You can play or experiment. This is the time where you can experiment with stuff, and sometimes you'll do something by accident that'll actually sound pretty cool. I accidentally put my vocal up here onto the guitar track, and it sounded really cool. I may not use it in this song, but I'll just show you what I mean. Let's just drag this up here and play it on this guitar track.
I find it hard to be okay.
So yeah, like I said, it might maybe for just like one part, maybe that's part of something that I should do in my final mix or my arrangement just to have a little bit of flavor there. But that's what we've done with our vocals. Now, the reason we've got two vocals here in this mix is that we've got some overlapping sections. So that means that in parts like this, let's just take a listen here.
Lift a finger, goats have it easier than me.
So that lift a finger, goats have it easier than me, I've had to actually track that separately, and I've had to put it onto two different tracks because there's a little bit of overlap there, and you don't want it to be like, if we didn't have that overlap, let's just take a listen to what it would, we've zoomed in on another part of the track. Let's just take a listen to what that would sound like. So if we just drop this back to here, and if we drop this up to here, so if these were on the same track, it would sound like this.
Have to lift a finger, goats have it easier than me.
So you can hear there that it clicks, it cuts off, and then it cuts in. So you don't want that. Let's just undo and undo. So yeah, don't be afraid to use things like that. Yeah, I couldn't sing this naturally like that if I was singing it live, but that doesn't actually matter in a produced song a lot of the time. Your opinion may vary, but that's the way we can do that. Now, when you're doing something like this, yes, it gets a bit fiddly because what I need to do is keep these the same. So keep the actual, keep the effects and EQ and everything else the same. So if I'm making changes, so I'm usually using this vocal to do all of my changes, all I need to do is then duplicate that so that I've got all the settings the same on this one, and then I need to copy and paste in my vocals. So let's just show you how we do that. We'll drag across all of those, we'll tap on one, we'll tap again, we'll go copy, and then what we need to do, you always need to line your playhead up right at the very start and make sure it is literally on the first part, like the absolute start. Otherwise, it's going to put everything out of sync. So there we are. We'll tap, we'll go paste, and there you go. We've got a complete copy in exactly the same spot with the same effects. So what I would actually then do is come in here and change that, delete this one. In fact, we can do that. So now I know that these two are exactly the same. Now, if I want to make some changes, that's cool, but we're starting from the same base. So let's just go to another section where we have some overlap and just make sure that everything's sounding good.
Then I can be at one with. Goats have it easier than me, they don't have to work.
So the effects are sounding the same. I've sung it a little bit softer. So I am going to have to do some volume automation in here, and I do need to make sure that this part here actually overlaps a bit. There you go. Because we don't want it to start right at the start there. When you're doing your mixing and you haven't done your editing properly like I have here, you may need to do some of these edits as well to actually get it sounding like you want it to sound. So there's one more vocal that we have down here, which is our what is that called when you do a thing with another thing? Harmony. Good one, Pete. We have our harmony vocal down here. So let's just take a listen to what these parts sound like.
They might be penned up, but they're not pent up.
So let's just listen to that with the rest of the mix because we want to make sure we can hear it with the mix, like so.
Might be penned up, but they're not pent up. They might be pent up with rage like me. Guitar solo.
Yeah, okay, so you can hear there that I got a bit excited there. I haven't done my editing of these vocals, which means I have some other parts in here that I need to remove. So why not show you how we do that right now? I think I get a bit excited in this part. So I say guitar solo. Do I say something else weird down here before I come back in? The solo up. Yeah, I was telling myself that I need to bring the solo up, which I probably do. But that's okay. We can fix this. Let's just split here. And it's nice that I was talking about my guitar solo, but we don't want that in our final mix. So we can cut it back here, split it, tap again, and delete. And there we go. So we don't have any of our talking in there. Let's come towards the end here and play back again.
Goats have it easier than me. They don't have to work. They don't have to lift a finger. Goats have it easier than me. They don't have a care. And I want to be like goats have it easier than me. They don't have to worry about getting likes on their Facebook post.
And then I go nuts at the end there and do a weird sort of improvised rant. So again, you can see that I've used this overlap feature to make sure that that's working, but I need to make sure, yep, I've got enough room at the start there again.
Lift a finger. Goats have it easier than me. They don't have a care.
There you go. So it's coming together okay. I think there was another bit where I just sort of, yeah, it was this part here where I recorded some random stuff. I'm just going to delete this one because this was a bit embarrassing. And the same here. Get rid of that. All right, I'll play it. So I got excited in this part when I was doing this bit where I went into the bridge. And let's just play it back and take a listen.
And I want to be as free as ghosts. We get to rock out in the bridge. Dance to the left. Dance to the right.
So yeah, you don't want to see the video footage. Do you want to see the video footage of me dancing? Yeah, I did record my vocal session and maybe that becomes a new video, but it was a bit embarrassing because I kind of went for it. And yeah, I'm usually a fairly shy person, believe it or not. So yeah, maybe I'll share that with you. Maybe not. Let me know. Would you like to see it? All right, let's delete this little rant that we have in between here. We'll tap, we'll delete, and then we're good to go. So let's now come to the very end of our track and just see if we need to do any cleaning up at the end to make it sound all right. I think it's okay because it just sort of ends on like a delayed note of our guitar. So let's play back the end of the track now.
They're being retweeted. I want to be like a goat.
Not bad. If anything, we probably need to let these tails go out a little bit more. And I've given this advice before, but when you're recording, make sure that you don't stop the recording too soon because you want that natural tail to end. Stand there for literally 10 seconds if you're playing guitar or singing especially, because you don't want to have to cut it. You can do some fades and you can fix it up in the mix, but yeah. Anytime you use the words fix it in the mix, then you're kind of fooling yourself. So let's just move some of these out a little bit further and have another listen to this end.
I want to be like a
goat. Yeah, so there's that. Well, but you can hear there that I'm going to have to do some fading because I didn't leave, it was my guitar, not my guitar, my vocals, my mic there that I didn't leave on long enough. So, when you hold down on the sound, it like solos that sound. It's a bit weird. All right, let's bring these to here. Make sure we get rid of that crunch. But then we will do a little trick before we master to trim and fade it.
Whether they're Insta famous or even whether they're being retweeted, I want to be like a
goat. Junk. Yep. I've got it's a power chord one that I've got to just bring back. Bring back a little bit, like that. There we go. At least we don't have the clunk. We've got some clicks and pops, but we don't have the clunk. So there you go. There we have it. So this has been one of the quicker mixing processes, even though I went through a little bit of detail in this video. But I want to get your feedback. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this mix. It'll be in decent stereo quality, as decent as an analog recording that then goes through YouTube and is compressed can be. But take a listen and let me know what parts are sticking out to you. What parts should I change? What do I need to do? Because I want to finish this off in the next sort of 24 hours. So if you're watching this video in the future, I've probably already made all those changes. But if you're watching it on day one, then drop your comments down below and let me know what you think. But now let's go out by playing the end-to-end version as it stands right now, the probably not final mix, but secondary mix of my song Goats here. Let's hit play.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, let's go! I find it hard to be okay with all the things that are happening in this world, and I find it harder day by day. All the news that that is fake, all the walls that they make, and there's one thing that I am sure of. Goats have it easier than me. They don't have to work, they don't have to lift a finger. Goats have it easier than me. They don't have a care, and I wanna be as free as goats. I think that I might go insane, putting up with all of the things you say and do. And I need to find another way to survive in this land, and I might eat a cat, and maybe then I can be at one with. Goats have it easier than me. They don't have to work, they don't have to lift a finger. Goats have it easier than me. They don't have a care, and I wanna be as free as goats. They might be penned up, but they're not pent up. They might be pent up with rage like me. Goats have it easier than me. They don't have to work, they don't have to lift a finger. Goats have it easier than me. They don't have a care, and I want to be like goats have it easier than me. They don't have to worry about getting likes on their Facebook posts, whether they're Insta famous or even whether they're being retweeted. I want to be like a goat.
And there you have it. I hope you found this interesting. What do you think of my mix? Is there things that I need to improve upon? I would love to hear your feedback and your comments. You can drop those down in the comments below, along with any other questions or suggestions you may have about this or anything else that I cover here on the channel. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Hey, thanks for sticking around. If you'd like to support the channel even more, head over to studiolivetoday.com/gear. There's a gear guide there with all of the gear that I recommend, and you can pick yourself up something new. You can also go to studiolivetoday.com/merch and pick up a Studio Live Today t-shirt or mug. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon.